Hello and welcome to the Simplifiers podcast, where we interview very smart people all around the globe and have them take one topic and simplify it either in business or in life. And I'm so excited to introduce to you our superhero today, Ellen Goodwin. Ellen is a productivity expert. She's a TEDx speaker and a coach who works with entrepreneurs to build stronger habits, harness the power of accountability, and be more focused so that businesses can thrive and grow. As the founder and CEO of EllenGoodwin.com and the Shift Mastermind, she empowers entrepreneurs to become the action hero of their own lives so that they can have the business and the life that they've always imagined. Ellen resides in sunny San Diego, where she is writing her upcoming book on living the action hero lifestyle. I'd like to welcome to the Simplifiers podcast, Ellen Goodwin.
Thank you for having me today.
Oh, Ellen, we need to talk because I love that you call yourself an action hero rather than a superhero. And I should point out for the record, the Simplifiers, we're all about being undercover superheroes. Are we about to have like a Marvel versus, kind of throwdown?
No.
So tell us what it means in your mind to be an action hero in your life.
Well, action heroes, I think it's important we know the difference. Superheroes come from different planets and they have, Spider-Man got bit by a spider and Superman comes from kryptonite, not from kryptonite, whatever the planet is. But like action heroes, everyone can be an action hero. You think about movies where people get thrown into situations and they do amazing things. And that's what being an action hero is in your own life, is you are able to grab the situation and be in action and move yourself forward so that you progress through life.
Yeah. So it sounds to me like taking everyday people and focusing on the things that already exist in your life so you can help, become more productive. Is that what you're getting at?
Exactly. That you can just, you have a plan, you have a action, and you know that you're not just sitting spinning your wheels because motion is like the arch enemy of an action hero. And the difference between motion and action is super important. And that's where I try to get people to move from motion into action all the time.
Tell us more about that. Well, so what's wrong with being in motion?
Well, motion, hamsters on a hamster wheel, they're in motion, rolling around and around, and they're not going anywhere. Same thing, sitting in a rocking chair, lots of motion, but you're not really accomplishing anything. And what happens is, obviously we're not on wheels, we're not in rocking chairs, but we do that with our lives. We get in motion and we think, wow, I'm really pushing myself forward, but you're not. You're just in motion, making lists, making plans. While it's really important, you need to go past that plan, past that list, and actually do something. So, let's say I want to get in shape. And so I'm like online and I'm putting together this whole list of, I'm going to do these exercises and this is what I'm going to eat and all that. And I'm like, wow, look at me. I just did all this stuff. And you really haven't. You've got a plan, but you haven't moved it into action. You haven't made that healthy food. You haven't gotten on the floor and tried to do 2 push-ups and gone, ugh. So moving yourself towards the goal is when we're in action.
But Ellen, I can't go to the gym unless I have all the new workout clothes, the new yoga mat. Oh, and my shoes are just a wreck. So I'm going to have to go, and I can't go to the shoe store until this weekend. So I hear you, but these things take time. That's what people are saying in their mind, right?
That's what people are. And for everything that we have these excuses, procrastination is excusing yourself. You can do stuff. In that case, like the exercise thing, why do you have to go to the gym? Can't you do a squat in your living room? Yes, you can. Yeah. There's always ways to be in action. You think about action hero movies and, I always go back to like Bruce Willis, and it's not like they have all the James Bond, tools and everything. They make do. Oh, look, here's a steel pipe. I will use that to do X, Y, Z. It's the same thing with your life.
Yeah.
Just pick the things and make it work.
Well, to be a simplifier in my mind, it really is getting back to basics like that. And I think, especially in this day and age, we have a tendency to overcomplicate things because of outside external cues in our life of like, oh, well, I have to have this to do this and I have to go like this and everybody else looks like this. And, how do you fall or not fall victim to that trap?
Wow. I think you just need to keep your eyes on the prize and go, is it important for me to be that decked out? Is this an excuse?
Yeah.
Is it an excuse? Because, like I said, a lot of our procrastinations, and it is an excuse. And I think if you keep your eye on that action prize, what is it? Then you'll think of ways to work around it.
So let's back up a little. Ellen, tell us a little bit about your journey to becoming an action hero and coaching other people to do that. Where's your career taken you over the last few years?
Last few years. Well, for 20 years, I ran my own graphic studio. And that is actually where I became the action hero that I am today. And you wouldn't think of that, mousy little graphic designer. But what happened when I owned the business, I went through a period where I let procrastination, I let the excuses, I let all that stuff just take me away from being productive. I started deadlines, client happy, and I almost lost my business because I was procrastinating. No one was watching me when I worked, so I had no accountability. Yeah. And when that happened, I started to, think about what the heck's going on. I'm a smart businesswoman. I just did this. I've almost lost my business. And that's when I started to do a deep dive into what the hell is going on. And I'm looking at, all this stuff. Why do I procrastinate? And it all came down to the brain. And once that got figured out, I did super deep dive into education, training, learning what I can do to work with my brain, to work against my brain so that I didn't procrastinate. And I put together tools and systems I started to use. Other people saw me doing that. My business came back. And I realized that I could help a lot of people by showing them how to get out of that pit of procrastination, to be productive, to build stronger habits. And that's how I am the action hero I am today.
Yeah, and I think one part that you hit on that I think is really important to highlight is the bit of accountability. I mean, we have female creative entrepreneurs that listen to this podcast here and, raise your hand if you're listening right now and it's just you in your business, you, and you, right? Me, myself, and I. And I think that is so true. So part of it is, well, it's only me and I got to do all the things. So I've got a massive list to get cranking through it. But then it's also like, oh, well, look at me. Look at all the things that I just cranked through. But then you're right. You're spinning wheels. Are you focusing on the right things? Are you focusing on the higher yielding tasks? Yeah.
Right.
And without accountability, you could just literally do all the piddly stuff.
All the piddly stuff. You aren't going for the big things, I have a little sticky on my computer that says, did I hunt the antelopes today or did I hunt the mice? The antelopes are the big things and the mice are just the things the piddly things that we were like, oh, I got this done. But did you move yourself forward?
Oh, I love that. That's a great analogy. Yeah. And, who's to say that there are little things that are important? Have you ever seen the urgent versus important matrix?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Determining like what's urgent and important. That's what you should focus on now. What's not urgent but important. So, this is things that are really crucial to moving you and your business along. And then there's the urgent but not important. And you're like, we focus on all of that stuff. Those are the mice, right?
Yeah, those are the mice.
That you should delegate off to somebody else. Then the not urgent, not important stuff that we all do, right? Oh, I need to change my profile picture. Oh, I need to do this. Or, oh, I need to buy the workout clothes or whatever. That we should stop and get it off our plate.
Yeah. Oh, let me Pinterest that. I should find 57 different examples. Yeah.
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 So what are some revelations that you've had along the way of what's most important to becoming an action hero, to getting stuff done?
My number one is focus. Focus is the action hero superpower, if there's such a thing, because once you focus, you can expand time. And that's amazing especially in this time of people going, I don't have enough time. I'm so busy. I'm so busy. But if you can expand time, it's crazy what you can get done. And to that end, I am a huge believer in timers. So I'm a huge believer in setting the timer and getting work done. Just focus in on one thing. And I know there's a lot of people that are like, I can't focus. I don't have 8 hours to focus, which is great because you don't need 8 hours. The amount of work, the amount of things you can move forward in just 10 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour is amazing. So I'm all about focus and timers because timers are magic.
Totally.
They totally are. You've got your phone. Everybody's got their phone. You've got timers on there. You've got timers. I'm a huge believer. I've got my timer here. And I love this timer. And it's a kitchen timer. You twist it, it clicks, and then it dings.
Yeah.
And while that ticking is going on, I will focus on one thing and do it. I use interval timers on my phone. And I do a thing called the 10 plus 2 times 5. And that means I focus in for 10 minutes. I take a break for 2 minutes. And I do that 5 times in an hour. I've knocked out 50 minutes, really good focus. And I have moved myself forward so fast in such a short time.
Yeah, I love it. So do you subscribe to the thought process and methodology that you should tackle your biggest project first thing in the morning? Or what are your thoughts on that?
I love the idea, the whole eat your frog, tackle that big thing because we do put it off. And I do think it's great to get it done, not just for the action hero part of it, but also for your brain health. Because what happens is, let's say you've got this big thing. Maybe it's, I need to get on the phone and I need to make 10 cold calls. And I know people that are like, I don't want to touch the phone. But and then it will sit there all day where you're like, oh, I should do that. And then you end up procrastinating. But all day while it's sitting there, that is just draining your willpower. And which means you're not going to be as effective on the other things you're doing. And chances are you're still going to put it off. So I do love the idea of doing your big thing first thing in the morning.
So I'm also curious because I think sometimes I'll be the very first to admit it. I'll do the big thing in the morning and I'll allocate an hour to it or whatever it is. And then without fail, I'm like, it doesn't take as long as I think it would. It takes longer. I'm like, why is this taking so long? Is it a matter of focus or is it a matter of just not being able to accurately estimate my time on big, scary projects? What do you do in those situations?
Well, okay, so that is where you've just fallen victim to the planning fallacy, which is, as humans, we are horrible at predicting how much time something's going to take. And it goes both ways. It's, like you said, oh my God, this took way longer than it should. On the other hand, we have those things that we're like, I don't want to do it because it's going to take forever. And then 10 minutes later, you're like, oh,
that wasn't so bad. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But we have a really hard time planning out how long things are going to take.
Yeah.
So it's a cognitive bias we all have. And so a lot of times on big things, I am not a whiz at websites, and I have 3 or 4 and I'll be like, I'm just going to jump in and do that. And then an hour and a half later, I'm like, okay. And I'm learning much better to go, you know what? I'll just delegate that because someone's going to do it. That I'm still going to have an hour and a half of my life. So the planning fallacy. So on things that you kind of go, okay, that's going to take an hour, you're much better off to go, let's plan for 2 and see where we go.
Yeah.
Now, the one caveat to that is you could fall victim to a thing called Parkinson's law. And Parkinson's law says that a task expands to fill the time available for it. So that is when we go, hey, I've got a report due and it's done. It has to be done by Friday. And all of a sudden Thursday night, you're, cranking on it. Whereas if you gave yourself, okay, I've got 4 hours this Tuesday and that's all the time I have, you'll get it done. So timing is there's some interesting things that go on with time.
Oh, I think it's fascinating to me. You're absolutely right. I've heard that concept before. And whether you give yourself 15 minutes or 2 hours is about as much time as you're going to spend on it. If you laser focus in on that one task, you're not being pulled and distracted in thousands of other ways. Yeah. And I think that what you said is true. I mean, and I think maybe the step further on that is, if you are doing something that you notice is taking so much longer than you thought, and maybe there is triggers of perfectionism kind of sneaking in there, or maybe there is something where you just don't have the skill set to really do it efficiently, track that. Oh my gosh, my kryptonite is WordPress. I am a pretty savvy person. I like to believe I'm pretty savvy on blogging and things, but when it starts to become like fixing plugins and, coding and all that, like my brain starts to shut down. But I mean, is to track when you notice the places where you just definitely don't have the skills, and delegate. And don't be afraid to pay somebody a little bit of a higher rate so that you can win back that time use that time on the things that you're really, really good at.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's amazing when you just, your head is energy in your brain because somebody's work. Love it.
Somebody's better, faster, stronger at it. Absolutely. So I would like to know, who was maybe one of your earlier role models or mentors in your career path that helped you kind of start to see the light when it comes to productivity and all of this?
Oh, wow. I was an early follower of Jack Canfield, who, while he's a lot of motivational stuff, if you pull it out, he had things where I went, oh, okay. Brian Tracy was another one. He's the old, eat that frog thing. And a lot of what he said earlier in my career really resonated. And he's kind of where I went with, when I was in the pit of procrastination, which I love that term, I turned to him for some of the things where it's like, oh yeah, I could try that. So,
yeah, that's
those
great.
People.
So, in order to simplify productivity, you say the secret weapon is focus, right? So what are 3 to 4 things I could do right now to help strengthen that muscle? Focus is a muscle, right? So we talked about timers. What else?
Right. I would go with Post-it notes. 3, your basic regular size Post-it notes. And in the morning, you write down 3 things that you want to accomplish for the day, 3 outcomes, and that is it. And you don't write down, this is what I'm going to do to accomplish them. You just write what the outcome is. Maybe it's write 500 words for something you're doing. Just that's all. And that sticky goes somewhere where you see it all day. And you are going to focus in on achieving those. And 3 is kind of magical because it's not 5, it's not 10, and it's not 1. It's just you're going to move yourself forward if you have just 3 simple things on a sticky note.
Great. What else?
Big fan of that. Well, we talked about timers. So scheduling yourself, knowing, hey, I'm going to work on this at this time, and holding that as sacred as you possibly can.
Yeah.
And not make it big and clunky. Because if you say, I'm going to take 2 hours to work on this, and then it comes up and you're like, I don't want to do that for 2 hours. So make it something that feels good to you and that you will do it. So I'm a big believer in it has to feel good for you to get where you want to go.
Truly, yeah. And I use Google Calendar for that. Google Calendar, I find, can be a bit fluid, so you can shift tasks. I schedule tasks into my workday. And it's also integrated into my scheduler, like little link. I use Schedule Once. We'll put these links down in the show notes for everybody. But and I think it does make a huge difference because you run the day, right? You create your pattern rather than the day running you.
Right. So other things you can do, set a quantity or a quality limit. Quantity, a time limit, or quantity limits. So let's say, you give yourself 5 minutes. If something you don't want to do and you go, I'm going to focus on this for 5 minutes. And when that 5 minutes is over, I can move forward. I can do whatever I want. Chances are you're going to keep going after that 5 minutes. Same thing with a quantity limit. Let's say you're cleaning out your closet and you give yourself a limit of, hey, I'm going to throw out 10 items. And then after I've done that, I'm done. But chances are you get into that and you got the 10 items and you're like, I'm going to keep going. I want this closet clean.
Yeah.
So giving yourself a limit of either time or quantity can help you move forward, can focus in.
So I love all three of these tips. So, writing out your 3 outcomes for the day on a Post-it note, putting it somewhere you can see it. 2, scheduling yourself, and, really building in your day and scheduling tasks in. And then the quantity versus quality limit. I love that. Tell me though, Ellen, you've had a crappy day. You're down in the dumps. Something has gone wrong. Your child has, come home sick with pink eye. Like a curveball has been thrown. What do you do then?
Sometimes you just have to just step back, breathe, realize you might not be able to salvage the day, make a plan for the next day, an action plan.
Yeah.
So that if this happens, then, tomorrow I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
A lot of the times, like say, that there's days, wow, things do go off rail. So what you can do is plan ahead for that with an if-then plan. Proper term, implementation intention, which I know, which means if this happens, then I do this. So if I've had a crappy day and I come home and all I want to do is couch, wine, TV, then I will sit for 5 minutes and meditate. Use a meditation app for 5 minutes and then move forward with my night and maybe move forward with, I will do 30 minutes of housework, 30 minutes of planning for my next day. Yeah. So that you've already got a plan in mind so that when you come home and everything's gone, you have no willpower, you have nothing. So you put it on automatic pilot by going, if this happens and whoops, this is happening, then I'm going with my backup plan.
And for those that are listening at home with very little littles, one of the things that I do, I love that, the 5 minutes of meditation, you're like, yeah, right, that's not going to happen. You lock yourself into the bathroom and you have a little mommy timeout time, like it's okay to like do that and set some boundaries. No one is going to die. Like 5 minutes can do a lot it's very simple, but it's so powerful to just reset your breathing, reset your brain and get centered,
Yeah, because you're obviously at that point, you're in fight or flight. Yeah. And when you're in that situation, and I know it's not like you're fighting or flight, you want to, but yeah, just bring your breathing down. You can do, simple breathing where you inhale and then you just hold it for 4 seconds and then you let it out. And it's amazing how your limbic system just comes right down. And then you can survey the territory a little more sane and go, okay, yeah.
And I also think that there is, you've given us lots of great practical ideas of how to get stuff done, get ish done, right? But I think there is also equally as important mindset and mental health. And speak to a little bit of that for us, of what you do to help keep your brain sharp and to also kind of keep your self-care tank filled up. What do you do?
Well, I'm a big fan of meditation. Just sit, and sometimes it's just like I said, 5 minutes. Again, it's one of those things that a lot of people don't do because oh my gosh, I need to meditate for half an hour. You don't. The magic of 5 minutes is amazing. So just, bringing yourself in and going, okay, here I am. Habits are fantastic. And it's the reason I think habits are great is because we have a limited amount of willpower every day. Willpower, self-control. And we use those up. And when we use those up, oh my gosh, we we are back to that situation you talked about. You come home and you've got nothing. So habits, I mean, you think about your morning, getting out the door. Most of the things we do in the morning, we get up, we brush our teeth, we breakfast, If we had to think about each one of those things, we would get nothing done.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing during the day. The more you can put on autopilot that you aren't processing things, you're not using up willpower, you've got more willpower to do other things during the day. So automating whatever you can. And that can be as simple as, clothing. You think about Steve Jobs and Mark Zuckerberg, same outfit. Now, I'm not saying you have to, here's your sweatshirt and that's what you're wearing. But having things that's easy. It's, boom, this is what I'm going to wear. I'm not wasting time thinking about that. Eating the same thing every day. I know that sounds terrible, but it's, that's another decision. You can always do the whole weekend, Sunday afternoon, get the food ready, boom, it's out the door. No, not out the door, but it's in your fridge. You're ready to go.
Yeah.
The more you can do to decrease the number of decisions that you have to make, the better your brain is going, because it's not thinking every single thing it has to think about.
Right. There's the mental fatigue of all those decisions.
Well, oh my gosh.
I mean, you're the podcast host for the Faster, Easier, and Better show, right? So, I think while you were saying all that, it's like, well, yeah, actually, if you can automate some parts of your life, not everything, but some parts of your life, so that you can make less decisions every day, you are in essence becoming faster, making your life easier and better, right?
Exactly. We went on, my husband and I went on a diet earlier at the end of last year. And one of the things I loved about it, which is randomly weird to say I loved a diet, was it just cut out all these choices.
Yeah.
And it was like, you can eat this, and it was like, cool. And I didn't love the choice, but all of a sudden there was never that question of, are you going to eat this or not? It's because it's no. And so there was no decision. There was no fighting back and forth with like, ooh, should I have the salad or, ooh, the hamburger and fries? It's like, no, the salad is it.
And you feel much better afterwards as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So for those that are listening at home, you're hearing these ideas. You're thinking, okay, right. What can I automate in my day-to-day life? Think about. We'll give you a little bit of a homework assignment. What things in your daily routine, your morning routine of running the kids to school, or the very first thing you do when you get into the office, what can you simplify? What can you automate? So, Ellen, talk to us about how to tap into your already existing resources in your life, right? We talked about, well, I don't actually need the fancy workout shoes. I don't actually need the this and this and that. Tell us about what you do to help yourself tap into your existing resources.
To my existing resources. Well, I have that running list of what's available to me. Like I said, like the working out, if I'm in a situation where I can't get to the gym, I can do body weight exercises. I can just, take care of whatever I need to without the fancy things. And this again goes back to the if then.
Yeah.
If I'm in a situation, if I'm in a hotel room like you are right now, if that, then I have a plan of, these are the exercises I do and I can do them there. Knowing that if then thing it's so helpful, and it does put us in motion because you're kind of planning things, but boy, you have an arsenal ready to go. So other things, the food thing, if I'm in this situation, then I'm doing this, so I don't think about, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? If I'm in traffic, then I've got audiobooks, I've got podcasts to listen to, I'm using my time, or sometimes it's just shutting everything off. I'm in the car and just like, let me be me.
And breathe.
And breathe. Also, like resources, and people don't think about this. Your friends and your coworkers are awesome resources to hold you accountable.
Yes.
And accountability, we haven't even touched on that, but that's huge. Being accountable to what you say you're going to do. And you can tap into your friends and say, hey, check back on me on Friday, or I'm going to check in with you and let you know where I am on this project.
Yes.
And they hold you accountable to it.
Yeah, I love it. There's no reason why you have to do any of this life alone. A core value at the Simplifiers is we are better together, without a doubt. Alone serves no one. So yes, I love that. So Ellen, tell us what books or maybe a blog, what's one book or blog you're reading right now that's inspiring you or challenging you?
Daniel Goldman, he wrote the Emotional Intelligence years ago. He has a book out called Focus, and it's the hidden drive of excellence. And it's fascinating because it's not just about focus like we've been talking about. It delves into all different parts of focus in our lives and being parts of community. So I'm finding that one, wow.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. So, and the other, not so much his blog, but his podcast, Peter Shankman. He has the Faster Than Normal podcast, which is all about the superpower of having ADHD.
Wow.
Because he thinks of it as a gift. And for him, it works. So that's an awesome one to listen to.
Any apps that you're using right now that would help you simplify your life?
Absolutely. I use Stop, Breathe, and Think, which is a meditation app. And you check in on it. When you open it, it says, how are you feeling right now? And then it will base the meditation that it gives to you based on how you feel and what you want to feel.
Interesting.
And it's a really nice one. I use Seconds Pro, which is a timer app. And that one works really well when I do the 10 plus 2 times 5, because you can set up interval timing. And there's one just called Intervals. So obviously you can see where I'm going with my timing thing.
That's cool.
But
yeah,
I'm a big, as far as like planner apps and things like that, I'm a paper girl. I've got the paper calendar, paper planner. So.
Yeah, sometimes it's good to go old school like that. So we ask these same questions to most all of our guests on the Simplifiers podcast. And tell us one person in your circle that you think we should interview on the Simplifiers podcast and why.
Brody Welsh. And she is, do you know Brody?
We do. Yes. Yes.
Oh, okay.
But no, tell us about Brody.
Oh, Brody, a chiropractor, Chinese medicine extraordinaire. And what I love about her is she, takes everything from, especially we've talked about productivity together, and she takes it to the whole, the chi level, the meridian, and just brings it to a whole different level. And I find that fascinating. Yeah.
So Ellen, tell us, gratitude, I'm a big believer in gratitude and simplicity. They go hand in hand. Tell me, what are you grateful for right now in your life?
Oh, I am just so grateful for my friends. I just recently got married, and we had this enormous fun party afterwards. And just to take a moment during that day and look out at everyone and go, every one of these people means something to me. And it was awesome. And it just has carried over because I think about them, and I'll have this moment. I'm like, oh, they did this and we hung out together. Yeah. So my friends, definitely.
Yeah. I am a big believer in the community and the people that you surround your life with enrich your life and uplevel it in so many more ways than you can think. So what's one superpower you possess? I have a feeling it's productivity, but tell us what's one superpower you possess, and how did you develop that skill or trait over time?
I would go with its focus.
Yeah.
So it goes in with productivity, and I developed it, using the timers, finding which process worked best for me. Everybody works differently, but for me, like that ticking timer and knowing that I only have to do it for just so long.
Yeah.
It helps so much because, if I say I'm doing this for half an hour, well, that little part of my brain that's like, no, we should do this. We should be distracted. I'm like, half an hour. It's like a little kid. You got time out. We talked about mommy time out. Here's time out in my brain. Half an hour. We're going to work on, maybe it's something you don't want to do, but half an hour. And then we can go back to our regular scheduled program of things that we're getting distracted by.
Yeah.
So focus.
I love it. So where do you hang out online the most? Obviously, ellengoodwin.com, and you've got a new Action Hero quiz. Tell us a little bit about that.
I do. So I have an Action Hero quiz. Just go to my website. It's right there on the first page. You take the quiz. It's 10 super easy questions. They're actually kind of fun. At the end, you find out if you're one of 4 different types of people when it comes to getting your stuff done. And we've got like the action dominator. Everyone is a action hero. And yes, there is a procrastinator in there, because it's surprising how many people, they're like, oh, I do procrastinate. And then you get a little, at the end, you get, hey, you could try this, this, or this. So it's kind of fun just to figure that out.
Yeah.
But
great.
otherwise, I'm over, you can find me on Facebook, ellengoodwin.com.
Okay.
So,
great. So, Ellen, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. I have one final question for you here. Somebody that's been listening to this last episode, getting super inspired. They're like, oh, well, yeah, it could be as simple as setting timers, or it could be as simple as writing out my outcomes on a Post-it note. But they're maybe right in the valley, the deep depths of ugh, and they're trying to pull themselves up and out of that. If you could whisper one encouraging word or sentence to them right now, what would you say to them?
I would say it gets better. It will get better. You have tools and they're not complicated. Definitely with the Simplifiers, they're not complicated. Time yourself. Give yourself 5 minutes and see what you can move yourself forward. And then maybe it's just that 5 minutes. That's all you can do today. And that is enough. That is enough. If that's where you are, don't make yourself discouraged. Do what you can with just 5 minutes. And then maybe tomorrow it's 10. Start where you are and move forward.
Yeah, that is enough, and you are enough.
Exactly.
Ellen Goodwin, thank you so much for being on the podcast today.
Thank you so much for having me. This was awesome, and I look forward to hanging out with you later.